Okay, so the final section in chapter 1, we're going to be talking about transformation. A geometric transformation is where each point of the original figure, which is called the pre-image, corresponds to a unique point on its image. So let's look at what that would look like. So this is the pre-image. This is the image I start with, triangle ABC, and I'm going to move it along this vector. Vectors, by the way, give you the direction to move and how far to move it. So I'm just going to take this and slide it along these vectors to a new location. And we call this triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. That's how you read that, E prime. So this is the pre-image, this is the image, and we've just slid it to a new location. We haven't changed the shape of it or the size of it. If I were to pick this up and put it on top of the image, they're going to be an exact match. And this is called a translation. So a translation is just moving it to a new location without changing its size or shape. And these are called rigid transformations. So you can have a translation where we just slide it to a new position. You can have a rotation where you rotate it around a certain point. Or you can have a reflection where it's reflected over a certain line. In this case, that one right there. So let's just look at how would you do this by hand. We're going to start with this image right here. And we're going to rotate this figure 100 degrees clockwise about this point right here. So we're going to go clockwise. So the first step you're going to do is you're going to connect one of these points to the center of rotation. P is the center of rotation. Let's go ahead and start with D. So I'm going to connect D to P. And then the second step is to create the given measure, 100 degrees, using this segment as a side of the angle. So you're going to want to find your protractor. And we're going to line up this with the center of rotation. And that lines up with the side that I just made. I'm going to mark where 100 degrees is. Oops, I'm sorry, you can't see that. So I made a little mark right there where 100 degrees is. And then I'm just going to make the other side of my angle. So now this angle right here measures 100 degrees. So then the next step, you're going to take your compass and you're going to put your compass point on the center of rotation. You want your compass open to that distance, this distance right here. And then you're going to swing an arc. Make sure I have a compass side. This is not a great compass. I'm going to swing an arc so that it intersects that other side that I just made. And you're going to put a point right there. This is going to be now B prime. You do that with every point in the figure so that you end up with this picture at the bottom. So note that the red is the pre-image and the blue is after I've rotated it 100 degrees clockwise. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down so you can see all the steps. You're going to want to copy that down. Alright, so you're going to see we do a lot of work with coordinate geometry in this particular book that we're using. So well, let's just uncover this. Oops, you're not supposed to see this yet, so let's erase that. Okay, so we have this figure right here, and we're going to want to rotate this 90 degrees counterclockwise. So these rules right here, you're going to want to write these down. If you're going 90 degrees clockwise, this is the changes that you're going to make to your coordinate points. So the way you read this is you take x, y, and the change that's going to happen is x and y are going to switch places, and the number that's in this position becomes the opposite of what it was. The rule for counterclockwise, the change to x and y is that x and y are going to switch places, and the number in this position becomes the opposite. If you're rotating 180 degrees in any direction, the rule is going to be x and y stay where they are, but they both become the opposite of what they started with. So let's just do one and see what happens. We're going to rotate this triangle 90 degrees counterclockwise. So I have written down the coordinates of A, B, and C. This is how you're going to want to do it. And then we're going to apply this rule right here. I'm going to switch x and y, and this number is going to be the opposite. So now I want to write down my new coordinates of A prime, B prime, and C prime. So switch these, well, not much of a switch there, but this one becomes the opposite. Switch these, again, they're the same. This becomes the opposite. Switch these, and this becomes the opposite. Now I'm going to plot these points. So A prime is at 1, -1, no. Alright, so, well, I already screwed up because I forgot that we were going counterclockwise. This is the rule for clockwise. So, let's erase these. And we're going counterclockwise, so this is the rule that I want to use. We're going to switch those. Switch. This one becomes negative. Do the switch. No switching. This one becomes negative. Do the switch. This one becomes negative. Let's try that. So, A prime would be at -1, 1. B prime is at -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Positive 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And C prime is at -1, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that this is the image after we've rotated this counterclockwise about the origin right there. Okay. And if you want a visual of how that happens, so picture that we're going counterclockwise 90 degrees, and whoops, and there we are. All right, let's try a different example. This time we're going to rotate clockwise, but we're not going to rotate around the origin. We're going to rotate around a different point. So P is the center of rotation, and it's located at -2, 2. So the way I learned how to do this, there was like a couple steps, 2 or 3 steps in order to make this happen. But I'm going to show you what I think is an easier way. So we're going to pretend that this is now the origin of this coordinate plane. So if you would picture the y-axis is now here, and the x-axis is here, and we're going to write down the coordinates of these points as if this were my new origin. So A would be at 1, 2, 3, and down 1. B would be at 3, 4, 5, 6, and up 2. And C would be at 7 and down 1. Alright, so let's remember the rule for rotating 90 degrees clockwise. And that rule is that X and Y switch places, and this becomes the opposite. So we're going to switch these, and this becomes opposite. We're going to switch these, and this becomes opposite. We're going to switch these, and this becomes opposite. Now I'm going to plot these points. And I'm going to go back to the origin. Whoops, sorry. We're not going to go back to the original origin. We're going to, because remember, this is our new origin. So from that, if this is the new origin, we're going to plot this point. A prime is at -1, -3. B prime is at 2, -6. And C prime is at -1, -7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now, this is the location of my image after I've rotated 90 degrees clockwise with this as the center of rotation. And that's it for 1.9.